Get ready to meet the award-winning voices behind one of Iowa's most beloved morning shows. Claire Duffy and Dancin' Eric Hansen are the dynamic duo behind the Morning Scramble. Y'all, it is fast, it is funny, and it is a feel-good mix of lifestyle, pop culture, and listener stories. They have won all sorts of awards, but what I really love about them is the way that they bring authenticity, creativity, and connection to the airwaves every single day. And they are here today on Plan Go Plan to share how planning fuels spontaneity, how teamwork powers purpose, and what it really takes to do a meaningful on-air work before the rest of the world even wakes up. I'm super excited for this, so let's do it. Welcome, you all. I'm so excited that you're here.
You want to be our writer? That was fantastic.
Great. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you. So, I mean, I just introduced you all, but I know that that doesn't really even begin to capture the complexity of the amazing humans that you are. So tell us a little bit about yourself as something that maybe even your own listeners would be a bit surprised to learn.
I think the first thing that comes to mind is, though we've been doing this show for going on 7 years, we've never worked together before that.
No.
But the chemistry on day one just clicked, which I think has helped us also do so well and really just find our groove really quickly and easily with the show.
That was really nice because a lot of times there's kind of like a transition period where you have to learn how to trust each other. And we were able to develop that really quickly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it could too be part of the fact that we also did the show during a pandemic.
Mhm.
And for those in Cedar Rapids know the derecho, basically the inland hurricane. And we had to be each other's support. We had to get used to doing shows in very different ways really quickly. And then I broadcast for a while out of my brother's house because my house took a tree to the front.
We had to
Oh,
be
no.
flexible.
Yeah.
We had to be flexible right away, right out of the gate and learn to trust each other through all of that. So
That's amazing.
it was a fast learning curve.
It was a very fast learning curve. Yeah.
That's awesome. You know, one of the things that I wanted to chat with you all about is, and you just brought this up, in sharing the way that you had to adapt really quickly in all these different environments and learn to trust each other, is this relationship between planning and spontaneity. Because I am a planner and I want to plan everything. And my husband's like, I'm a free spirit and I just want to pick up and leave when we want to leave and, all that stuff.
So Danielle, I am you.
Yes. And I am your husband.
Claire's your husband. That's our stuff.
That's how it always works out, isn't it? Like whether it's a working relationship or whether it's like two people that are married, there's always like one person that's like chop chop and then the other person that's like, let's just, feel our way into this.
We just sense our way through the day. Like, what do we want to do?
Oh, we are a time-driven business, right? we have 60 minutes to film. I got to know how the time's going to go.
Well, so how do you all navigate that? Like, how do you plan? And then, especially being, a live morning show, no one wants to feel like you're reading to them. It needs to be spontaneous. It needs to be conversational. So like, how do you balance the planning with the spontaneity?
There's a good mix. We do a lot of planning. There's like, what do we want to achieve for the year? And we think we kind of know going in. And then we try to do a month by month. Here's how this month is laying out. And then we do a day by day. We actually do have a, little sheet that we all keep on literally on the same page so that we know hour by hour, break by break, kind of what the topic is for the day. And then that kind of keeps us all organized so that we all know, like, when we get to 7:10, this is the topic and this is what we're going to be diving into, whether that's, our multiversity or maybe we're doing a segment where we're asking people their opinion or whatever it is. There's those moments where we have it planned. We know what the topic is, but what happens when the microphone goes on and exactly what is said, that's the spontaneity.
Yeah. And there's a component to what we do too, is I think the planning is just to kind of keep me happy. But at the same time,
No, it's good for us.
knowing what the day might hold, we might have a plan and we have to be flexible because part of the goal of the show is to be a mirror to our community. And as the town kind of, or the corridor overall, or even all the way up to Waterloo Cedar Falls, as that flows through us, we need to be able to be nimble enough to maybe agree, like, we were ready to do this segment. We're going to set that aside. We can come back to it. It's nice. It's printed out, but nothing's set in stone.
Yes.
So we can always adjust on the fly as necessary. And I think part of having some acting and improv chops helps a lot. So we know that we can guide a conversation wherever it needs to go. And it could be down the path that we were ready to go with, or sometimes we find something that might be a little more brilliant or more funny. And then we stay on that and we play with it for a while. So you don't know who's going to call in. You don't know who's going to text in.
Right.
You don't know the random comment I made about maybe having a gopher in my backyard could then turn into something else. And it was just a conversation we were having.
Right.
And that's part of the fun of what we do. I was telling somebody the other day, it takes a lot of effort to be effortless. And part of that is knowing we've got some guardrails in place, but that's just our playground. And then once we kind of know where we're going and we're just keeping it moving forward, sometimes plan goes out the window.
Yeah. Or that conversation, like you were saying, just because it's one thing and we talked about it one time, how can we keep playing with something like the rodent or whatever that got into your shed? Maybe we need to go investigate. Maybe you need to burn the whole thing down. Maybe we need to get in there and get an exterminator. Like maybe there's more ways we can attack this and keep on something, or know also when it's time to be done. We've looked at this and we've pushed this from every angle, and we have to agree that it's time to put this plaything away.
Because there's a component of putting the show together to realize we got to have the right dose of information, entertainment, interaction with the audience. There's music in there as well. The stuff that they expect, the stuff that's going to surprise them. And then we're always thinking ahead to it's a little bit of checkers and chess, I guess, at the same time. We're playing it in real time, but at the same time, we're like, okay, this might set something up down the road. We had this idea, for example, to do a world record about a year ago. We wanted to do a show on a boat 3 years ago. And when we have these goals and ideas, we don't throw them away. It'll just go up on a big whiteboard.
Keep it.
And we'll hold on to it. And it'll eventually, the time will find it, or we'll find the time for it.
I love that. You know, one of the things that I've really come around to as a planner is that the purpose of planning isn't necessarily for the plans to go as planned, but it's what I learn about myself and my values and my priorities in the process of planning. So, you know, thinking about, oh, well, how do we want this to serve our community? And how do we take the time to articulate those values out loud in the planning process? But then I love this spirit of play that seems to be such a big part of your process. And I'm either wildly playful or I'm incredibly serious. I think that I'm like, I vacillate between the two of those things. And so tell me a little bit about the role of play in your process, and, you know, how do you invite play, especially in the moment?
I mean, that's a big part of what we do. If we're not having fun, then how do we expect somebody listening to be
Right.
enjoying and having fun with what we're talking about? So yeah, we do, even if it's a serious topic, we do like a news feature, we call it The Buzz. And we have a very serious, like trying to stop the casino being built in Cedar Rapids. But it was a complex topic and hard to talk about, but you framed it as
a soap opera.
And it's hilarious.
Yes, as Des Moines turns.
And now I'm invested. I can't wait for the next episode.
Here's another episode or another chapter. I also think play is very important in terms of creativity and brainstorming for us. We, just like you have a very organized portion of your office, I'm guessing there's a part of the camera we don't see that's a little messy.
Gosh,
and that's everything
us.
here.
Don't look this way.
You shut your mouth.
Things on the wall and vision boards up and Buddy the Elf and gifts our producer has brought from his vacation. It's just, we need stimulation, because within the game of play, we start any brainstorm or idea. We usually have things to give away every single week. We just have to come up with a different angle to do that every single week. So it just helps us really, as we were talking about on other examples, kind of start with an idea and just kind of build it up until we know that moment when it clicks, both on air as well as in our planning session. And I think that helps kind of continue to drive the show forward.
I love that. And you mentioned improv earlier, and I know that a tenet of improv is yes and. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, that what does yes and mean? And is that a tool that you all use?
So in the improv, yes and is just never deny what your scene partner has given you. That is now your reality. And you take that, and the and part is you build it and you work on discovering something together, and it will get to something very funny very fast. Where I see us using yes and a lot is when we are, whether it's a news conversation or a pop culture story, one of us will offer an opinion. And if it sounds like a topic we want to play around a little bit, accept it, go with it and move on. Or an example could be Claire could say something completely absurd about, you always decorate your beard at Christmas time to look like a Christmas tree. No, I don't. But yes,
Yes, I do.
and it's really weird because I have to put little tiny presents underneath there. Now we're creating images and pictures in a medium where you have to do a lot of theater of the mind. And we just love to find those little areas and play with them and explore them. We know the audience loves that component and the creativity of the show. And I think also in a day where we're every single day is about the same job, but we have to make it different every single day also, it just kind of keeps us on our toes and lets us provide spontaneity for the audience.
And in that medium too, yeah, we are so often trying to paint a picture, right? We can't show you exactly what it looks like right outside our window, but we can paint a picture and take you there. And in your mind's eye, you're there with us.
And if you think about storytelling, when kids are telling stories, they, it was a princess and a dragon, and then they add something, and then that gets the other kid to add something. It just continues to build and build. I didn't realize it was kind of that simple, but
We're like children.
we're like children.
We're absolutely like,
That's the beat that we're applying. I think I learned it when I was 4.
I think-
Yeah.
that's so wonderful. I've been rereading the book Flow by Mahalahi, and in it, I was so reminded that enjoyment is a necessary component of flow. That if we're in a flow state, like we got to be having fun. Like it feels good to be in a flow state, but also like in order to trigger that flow state, you need to be having fun. And I think that maybe having fun is one of the lost elements of productivity. That like if you really want to be, efficient, have freaking fun with whatever it is that you're doing, and you'll get a heck of a lot more efficient with it. And so I love the way that you all have used, of course, one of my jobs as a professor is I run a little theater. So I'm really nerding out about this, but like theater of the mind and improv tools to really think about how you can use those to communicate with your audience. I think that's spectacular.
I want to build on that for just a second because you triggered something. What we do, we're confined to the same room for 4 hours every morning. There's a lot of technical that goes on. There's a lot of button pushing, documentation when we're writing the commercials down, a lot of moments when we're not on microphone, but we have to remain focused on what we work on. And I think that's the key. I think knowing we get to have fun and get to fun keeps that flow going. Because that 4 hours at that energy level, I mean, we've done it long enough now that it's not that unusual.
Yeah.
But I think to most people, coming in with high energy, smiling when you're talking, sounding fun, happy, being bright when you speak, because I think it gives back to us when we do it. But at the same time, I take this job very, very seriously. And I find that interesting that maybe that's the little light bulb that always goes off, that I'm in that flow, and that allows me to know I'm doing serious work, but have fun doing it at the same time.
Absolutely. And, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about is you all start early in the morning. What time do you start?
We're in the building before 5.
Okay.
The show starts at 6. So we're both up. It says 3 o'clock somewhere on our clock, 3:30, 3:45. That's when we're getting up every morning.
And we were chatting a little bit before this, and I said, I'm a morning person, but you all have to be morning people, and then you have to be funny in the morning. And I think that is wildly impressive to me. Tell me a little bit about what it takes to be on every single morning and how to not get burnt out by it.
It's hard, and it depends on the day. Like just yesterday, I'm like, I am not feeling 110%, but there is something about doing this though, that you're able to compartmentalize and then just kind of pushes things to the side, because I know that I'm going to have fun. I know that I'm going to enjoy the conversation and where it's going. And because it's part of the plan, right? The plan is to have fun.
I'm sure there's some chemistry in the body somewhere, right? That if you come in not feeling great, a couple of good laughs will get you going in the morning. I've always been a morning person, so I think that helps.
Yeah.
And I also don't have to drive myself to have a ton of coffee to do it. I think
Can't relate.
a little different over here. I also honestly think, Danielle, by having some performance background, we understand it's like when the curtain's up
Yeah.
and the lights on,
You're on.
you're on. And I don't know if that was something, we both did speech and drama in school, from athletics to, swing band and choir. I think all of those little pieces make up that we're coming in the morning. Also, we know that we have a contract with our listening audience that they tune us on for that. And we have to make sure we are providing that for them every single day.
I'm thinking about a few things that would really help, my Plan Goal Plan listeners, is to recognize that having those systems of accountability, like when you have a contract with listeners and listeners are expecting you to show up in a certain way, it provides that accountability for you. And I would just like to point out that most theater people are really, really nice people. So
Yes,
it's so good to find other theater people that are also morning people, because I think that it's kind of rare. But yeah, I think that there are all sorts of lessons there in terms of, I know, like, as a teacher, when you put me in the classroom, it can be at the hardest time of the day for me, which is afternoons, and I will turn it on. And I always like to say that when I'm teaching, I'm the best version of myself. And I do think that if we can locate those spaces, that whenever we're in those spaces, we can turn it on and they bring out the best version of ourselves. I think that that's pretty amazing.
I like how you say
Yeah.
that. I now that you said that, that's exactly how I feel
Yep.
when I hit the building, because our first hour is actually pretty quiet. Before the show starts, there's a lot more head down time and actual planning and preparation, and really get ready for the day. And then we started the show, and it's been the same way, I think, ever since we began. We turn the mic on cold and we just start a conversation. And I think it helps us kind of understand how our days are going without even having to ask that.
Yeah. Where are you at? And meeting the other person there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then that way we can feel energy, know if maybe someone needs to bump theirs up a little bit to bring the other person up. There's a lot of communication, both, verbal and nonverbal, that also helps this thing chug for 4 hours every morning.
Do you have any pre-show rituals?
We do like a little pre-show meeting. Our producer comes in and meets with us after we've kind of been heads down. It's kind of time to come up for air and refocus ourselves a little bit, which is like, just here's what we're doing today. Does everybody have what they need? Does he have all the information, phone numbers, and things that he needs to do, which kind of helps us get refocused.
It's funny you say that, because I've never considered it a ritual, but prepping the studio for the show is a ritual.
Yeah.
We walk in, we always have a beverage, some paper, and a snack. It always gets set down in the same spot. We open the curtain, we sanitize our equipment, we plug in headphones, and we're ready to start the day. Yeah, it's a little bit of, I guess, a warm-up, which I've never considered that way, but that's exactly what it is, because we do it the exact same way every single time.
I do so much around rituals. I love rituals. I'm a big fan of ritual over routine. Anytime that you're trying to invite presence. And I love that you just described it as a warm up. And I think that that's especially, it depends on my ritual. I do have what I would describe as more like a cool down ritual as well. But I love the idea of a morning, warm up.
Yeah, I think that really helps set the tone, and goes back to that question you were asking about kind of where we find the energy. And I think that focus and getting centered is watching a clock and getting ready to talk. We're plugged in, we're facing one another, which it's like, and then we're just waiting for the on-air light to go on, and then it's go time. Yeah. But it's not routine. I think I would classify it as a ritual.
Yeah, that's a really
I've never thought of it that way.
phrasing for it.
Yeah, probably because you have a specific order that you do things in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It feels weird if you do it in a different order. It probably has like a clear beginning and a clear ending.
Oh, completely. Yeah.
Yeah. And you'd feel off if you missed it. Yeah. So I know that your job really asks you to be leaders also. And could you talk a little bit about how your job has maybe taught you about leadership and self-leadership?
I think the first thing I come to, if you're leading an organization or if you're a voice of a community, is there's a responsibility to be present and to raise your hand. That's a personal belief. So trying to be active in the world that I want to see, I find very important. We get asked and get paid and hired out to do things on behalf of the radio station. But at the same time, we are more than happy to find opportunities to go out and just engage with our community. I think that's a key component of leadership. I also find that process and self-improvement, I think, is also good, because it shows, one, that you're concerned about wanting to always get better. And hopefully people see that with us, not only in the building, but we do talk about that a lot on the radio as well, which I think can be inspiring from a leadership perspective.
Right. Just trying to, that self-betterment
Mhm.
thing, just because okay, we've achieved, what else can we do? And we both have that kind of natural instinct to do that, but hopefully it is, an inspiring thing for other people too, to just kind of keep going and keep improving, even if it's a great quality, but how can it be even better?
And what's unique about our industry too is not a lot of people go to school for broadcasting anymore.
Yeah.
So any and all development of staff has to come basically organically within the building. So if there are opportunities where we can help train, we can engage. I love the fact that when we are at a farmer's market, we'll be working with some of the people who've just been hired on more as a summer staff, right?
Yeah.
As a street teamer. But if there's moments that they're asking a question or they want to try something out, we're all about it. Because for me, getting to radio started in high school, and it was, this is a very kind of throw you in the pool and see how you do business, but we can kind of be there coaching them along. So those provide some leadership opportunities also, which is great.
That's awesome. I know that you all really value growth and self-growth. And so I'd love to know what some of your favorite self-betterment practices are, or if you have any stories of things that you found yourself doing that have unexpectedly resulted in some growth.
We both have been doing some reading, whether that's, we work with some coaching people as well, but we're just taking on a little bit of self-improvement, self-betterment with doing some reading and checking in on each other, and I'm trying to do some journaling too, just to kind of put everything down on a page. Sometimes your thoughts get all disorganized, and just, making sure everything is where it needs to be, whether that's just internally with planning things or emotionally, even just put it all on a page.
I think something that's been really helpful for us too, as of late, and it comes through another coaching session. We actually have a morning show coach, somebody who's been in radio for a long time. It's a fresh set of years on the show. It's great to get constructive criticism and to get feedback. And we have found he's been very good at helping us really hone in on maybe goals we didn't know we were aspiring for. And as of late, and we tried this before, we kind of pick a word for the year, because it's a very good, it's a nice little guiding moment. As of late, we've been working on the word fame, which is interesting because, we know there's success through the radio station. We know that the station does well. The show is very popular. But what else can we be doing to continue to build everything, right? To try to find growth from within. The word spectacle has come up a bit more. All of these things too, I remember used to drive me when I started in the business, but sometimes you need someone to kind of kick you along a little bit to kind of remind you why you're there in the first place.
Yeah.
So I think the key component too, from a growth standpoint, is being open to knowing you can continue to always grow and improve. And, he came and started talking to us, I think, really at the right time. I think we would both agree we're doing great.
Yeah.
But you don't realize, there's still more and more you can be doing and growing the show and ourselves personally as well.
Yeah. Constantly asking us to re-examine. There's not just one way to do something, there's a million different ways. And just because the first approach didn't work, maybe try something different.
And remember, again, I keep going back to this agreement with the listeners. What's the thing we're going to leave them with that day?
Yeah.
And I think, take for granted, because we never see our audience, right? When we're doing our job, we don't see the people we're talking to. And I think it's easy to forget that there's somebody on the other side of that speaker who we just made happy. They feel like they know us a little bit better, but is there something that they're going to carry through that's just going to have them have the best day ever? And that's always a good reminder too, that there's a result to whatever we're doing while we're behind the microphone.
I love that very service and other oriented approach to things. And I've also been journaling a lot actually around ideas around visibility. And I grew up in Iowa. I've lived in 4 or 5 different states, but most of my life I've been in Iowa. And I love that your words fame, because I think that particularly as a humble, just me, Iowan, that I've had to really give myself permission to see having big impact as an opportunity to serve. That like when you're visible, that's when your voice can reach more people, and I think that there's just so many cultural things that I've had to sort of wade through there. Way to go, your coaches.
Yeah. No, you're great though. As Iowans,
Yeah.
it's like have a good time and really enjoy what we do and be very successful. But don't talk about it.
Right.
Right.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And there is a degree to this too, that we have to be extroverted, and there's got to be a little ego, right, to be able to do this, but also understanding, to your point, that there's a balance there, and knowing that we have the ability to kind of do big, be big. There are reasons for that drive that, which is to better everybody around us that are listening, or if we're talking about something in our community, there's always the end goal that it's not for us, it's for everybody we're talking to.
I love that. I have no doubt that you are bettering the lives of your listeners. I know that I recently listened to you talk about your adventures with the sick dog. So,
Oh yeah.
Right. And
so
who hasn't been there? Like, oh,
It's hard to do, but I think there's also a kinship with the audience, because another ritual is always remembering who is on the other side of that speaker or microphone and trying to picture that person and know that if we've gone through it, they have or will go through it, or there's probably something similar in their lives. And whether that's then open the phone lines, and that's going to help a family, which is a weekly topic we do to help parents around the area, or if it's even a silly squabble they're having in the office, and we let people kind of call in and pick sides, because we'll argue it on both sides. We just love that there's that give and take there, but we have to be true to who we are as people. We kind of are creating characters on the radio, but they're us.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit more of a bigger
Maybe,
persona.
Yeah. Hyperbole. Or
Yeah, a little more of a caricature. But yeah, to stay true to who we are as Eric and Claire in the morning scramble. And then that's the audience then comes up and talks to you at farmers markets or other events or live broadcasts, because they know you. And that's such a wonderful feeling.
Oh, well, I super appreciate you all and the joy and the playfulness that you bring to people's mornings. If people wanted to connect to you, how could they do that?
I'll give you the listening path, and then if you actually want to reach out, Claire can do that. So the show is live out of Cedar Rapids, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Central. And if you go to our website, kzia.com, that's the call letters, there's a listen live button right there. And if you missed the show in real time, we also take most of the segments and just take the music out. So there's also a Morning Scramble podcast, and you can listen through the exact same website or wherever you get major podcasts. But we always love people to call or email the show too.
Yeah, we scramble at kzia.com. Yeah, we take a lot of emails for either ideas or a fight that you're having that we can argue out for you, or parenting topics, or just a general like workplace issue. We're always open for those things.
Yeah, got to stay plugged in with our listening audience and with the community for sure.
Awesome. I'll make sure that all those things are in the show notes so that everyone can get those really easily. And thank you so much. This was a blast.
Yeah, this was fun.
you.
Thank you.